Hi, this is Colin with Maker Farm. In this video we're going to show you how to assemble the X carriage assembly for the new Prusa i3V that's going to be using the aluminum extrusion. Before we start with this, make sure you download the build guide. Go ahead, pull up the page that has the X motor assembly on it and gather all the parts that are listed in that page. To start, after you break your wood pieces out, we're going to start with these two pieces here. You'll notice all of the pieces are going to have, that are orientation specific, are going to have an arrow with the letter R. That's so that when we put those together, we want to make sure that all of those pieces are all pointing towards the right hand side of our machine. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get these two pieces bolted together. To do that, you're going to get some 16mm long bolts, and then you're also going to get some M3 lock nuts. And basically all we do is line up those holes. Just like that. And then we're going to install the lock nuts on the back. And we're going to tighten those down. You want to get either a wrench that will fit those lock nuts or just some pliers, and you can hold on to it with pliers as well, and then just tighten them down. Okay, so now we've got that plate bolted on. You'll notice the arrows are both pointing the same direction, so we know that's good. The next thing we're going to do is get some of our idlers here, as well as some bearings. You'll get some of your 625 bearings. And you'll get some of your M5 washers. And also, if you get some of your longer M5 bolts. Basically what you'll do is you'll take your M5 bolt, you'll put a 625 washer on, or 625 bearing on top of it, and you'll put on a M5 washer. Then you'll get your little idler. And you'll push that bearing into the idler. You'll get a second 625 bearing and put it in on the other side, and then you'll end up with an idler that looks like that. So you've got bearings on both sides. And we'll just do that with 3 of these. Okay, now that you've got the 3 of those, we're going to go ahead and install them in our X motor bracket here. And basically what we're going to have 2 of these, and they're going to be sitting on these little aluminum standoffs. And then one of them is going to go on this eccentric spacer. And if you'll notice, when you look at the spacer, the hole is offset. What I like to do on the side with the most material, I like to get a little marker. Just put a mark there that tells me that that is the thick side, so that when we adjust it later for tension, we can get it set correctly. Okay, now all we need to do is we are going to get, let's see, first we're going to install some other bolts here. I'm going to grab 4 M5 12mm bolts, and we're going to put those in from the back side into these 4 holes here. I'll put them all the way through so that you can see that. It's easier to put them on now than it is after we put those idlers on. Okay, so I just put those 4 bolts in there. We'll use those later on. But now what we're going to do is we're going to get one of our idlers, and you're going to get one of those aluminum standoffs, just the little spacers. And we're going to put that in the back side here. Do the same thing with another one. Both of these are going to go on the same side closest to where our motor is going to mount. And then we're going to get some M5 locking nuts. And we're just going to put those on the other side of those, and we'll tighten them down here. Same thing with these. You can get a wrench or some pliers just to hold on to those, and then you can use an Allen wrench and start tightening that down. Before you tighten it all the way, you want to feel how smoothly this idler turns. If you tighten that bolt too much, it's not going to turn freely, and if that's the case, you can back that off just a little bit till it turns nice and freely. And we're going to do the same thing, tighten the other one. Make sure it turns freely. Okay, so now here's the front, and then here's the back, and we've got one more to install, and that's going to be our last idler. But for this one, we're going to use that spacer, that eccentric spacer. And what you'll do, you'll notice the spacer, one of them, one side has a little, it's kind of a little hole in there, and that will fit in this hole. You can just push it into place. You may have to tighten the bolt down to get it to go all the way into place, or you can use some pliers to get it in there. It will be a tight fit, but that's okay. Then the last, so we get that in there initially, we get our last idler in there. On the back side, instead of just putting the nut, that hole's going to be bigger, so we're going to put an M5 washer, and then you're going to put the M5 bolt, or sorry, the M5 nut, and then tighten it down. Do the same thing and make sure that it doesn't bind up the bearing. If it does, loosen it up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to have the 3 on the back, and then that's how the front of our X motor is going to look. Then when we're all done, what we can actually do, we're going to adjust when we get this all set up, we can adjust that eccentric spacer by turning it with our wrench, and that'll loosen and tighten it against our aluminum extrusion so that we can get a good fit. So the last thing that we're going to put together in this is these two little pieces here. Actually, we'll do those later on in a later video. If you have any questions, make sure to refer to your build guide. There's contact information there where you can get a hold of us. Thanks.